Um, so I'm going to take you through most of the chapter 3. It's called Forgotten Sons in the book Age of Darkness, Horus Heresy series. It's following the perspective of two Astartes, an Ultramarine, Arcadius, and a Salamander, Hecta. So I'm going to do a summary rather than chronologically following the the paragraphs and the chapters within this chapter. That's word for word how it's structured. Sometimes over the course of this chapter, Forgotten Sons, there were chapters within it. Anyway, okay, so yeah, the summary of what happens is they are traveling to a planet, maybe Titan, a named planet. They're already on the surface, and they're flying in a Thunderhawk over continents to attend a diplomatic mission. They are going to represent the Imperium faction, two representatives of Titan. A remembrancer is going to represent Horus's faction, and they'll decide on who they want to side with, the people of Titan. And so they're flying in this Thunderhawk or Stormbird, and there's an opening scene of Antigues the Ultramarine with an artificer, that's a mechanic of sorts, and her name is Persephone, as well as the pilot through the communications talking about Horus is a monster, there's propaganda, and they're just upset about this stuff. And then Antigues comments about having Persephone go see what Hecta is up to. Persephone proceeds to do that, and we learn a little bit about Salamander traditions. One of their traditions, rites of fire, where he's in his meditations and she interrupts him. He dislikes that. He calls it the rites of fire. And then their wing of the Thunderhawk gets blown up. It was shot through by, a large caliber projectile, and that causes the Thunderhawk Stormbird to descend into a crash. And Hecta saves Persephone in the crash by protecting her with his body. And an important context for this to be smooth is in the meditations he was having, he was going back into his memories and reflecting on he was there at Isstvan 5. He had descended in a Stormbird, or something. It was called a drop ship, carrying some 500 warriors. It was shot down. About half of them died, and then him and the rest of them form a circle, a perimeter around of this dropship. And their enemies are the Iron Warriors, and the Iron Warriors there's some descriptions about them, just about that they're using these kinds of weapons, they're using vehicles, and then off in the distance they see Hecta and the Salamander see Vulcan and his Pyre Guard, that's his personal retinue, come in from the flank come in from flank. He hammers through these tanks, vehicles, Iron Warriors, and Hector, goes to join his Primarch, but is struck as they rally to the Primarch, and he's knocked unconscious. There's more descriptions. A quote is about none of the Primarchs are Vulcans equal, I'm paraphrasing, but equal in fortitude and strength, except possibly Ferrus Manus, who's dead. And that's a quote. So okay, so here we go. Now we're back to this Stormbird shot down in the desert. Antiges had saved someone, or Arcades had saved someone. Hector brings out Persephone. They're confused. They, conclude that, this is an act of, Horus's agents to thwart their success on Titan. And I don't know, it changes scene, and then suddenly we're in a amphitheater, a meeting hall, a indoor stadium, or a sort of House of Congress thing, where there's nobility, government officials, of Titan listening to the arguments from Antiges, and the Remembrancer. He's named, but I don't remember. And so this debate they have, a lot of the description focuses on Antiques' display of emotion, and he feels self-conscious in his self-conscious thoughts and reflections about it. Some of the arguments were about Isstvan III, that in Horus's defense, the traitors that he virus bombed and decimated, loyal traitors, were actually dissidents because of Horus's growing popularity, cult of personality, since he became the War Master, and in against Horus was, that's betrayal and murder of his own. And how could he do that? They didn't mention legally he had legally he didn't use any due process or anything like that. But anyway, that's just a comment. And it's the Remembrancer is really coloring it as Horus was kind of had swords to his throat, because he just was in a dangerous situation. He was surrounded by, he was on the attack against some crazy psychic mutant planetary governor. He couldn't really get confidence in his legionnaires, so that's what he chose to do. And so while this is happening, suddenly, or not while this is happening, but for whatever, I didn't even catch the reason, but Persephone is on some sort of mission, because she doesn't accompany them into this auditorium. She's out and about somewhere, on the planet, nearby the auditorium. But I didn't really get the reason. And while she's out there, she discovers, doesn't see her attacker, but she's attacked by an Iron Warrior from the Iron Warrior Legion. And Hector just his instincts and, his blood is twitching, so he leaves this auditorium to go check on Persephone, rescues Persephone, and has a fight with this Iron Warrior, defeats the Iron Warrior, discovers that two things. The Iron Warrior had some sort of mission to recover a data file on a weapon, and about the nuclear power plants of Titan. Apparently, Titan has many, many nuclear power plants, and it's the planet's main power. And then so Hector's on his way back to the auditorium, and